This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Good news regarding the Part 1 physical bipartisan infrastructure package. It has now gained more support from the Problem Solvers Caucus, which consists of 58 Democrats and Republicans. The reason why this is good news is because the faster the bipartisan infrastructure package passes, the faster the Part 2 human infrastructure, care infrastructure, reconciliation bill, whatever you want to call it, it has a lot of stimulus programs in it. The faster Part 1 passes, the faster Part 2 passes, which means people could access all the benefits from the stimulus programs a lot faster. I'll give you all those details. I'll play a video clip from both Democrat and Republican representatives. Also, we'll talk about the promise that President Biden made regarding the student loan forgiveness and where it's at as of now. We'll talk Medicare Expansion, fourth stimulus check, and I'll give you some other important updates along the way. Hope you're having a terrific Tuesday. If you appreciate these fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So the Pfizer vaccine protection against infection declines to 64% in Israel. So Israel is one of the most vaccinated countries in the world, and they are pro-vaccine. They did some tests, and the Pfizer vaccine doesn't fully protect against the Delta variant compared to the Alpha variant, which is what took over the entire country and the world last year. But now the Delta variant is a lot more serious, and they don't know how to stop it, especially if the Pfizer vaccine isn't completely protecting against it. Let me know your thoughts on this. Are we going to have another shutdown, or are things going to go back to 2020? Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. Next, let's talk about the good news here going on with infrastructure package. So Problem Solvers Caucus backs the Senate bipartisan infrastructure framework. The reason why this is great news is because this will move the bipartisan infrastructure package a lot faster, which means the Part 2 reconciliation bill, which is going to have all those stimulus programs in it, that will move faster as well. So what Gottenheimer, which is one of the co-chairs of the group, said is that with this new endorsement, there's even greater chance that we can get a standalone bipartisan infrastructure package across the finish line. So basically what this means is that moving forward, there is enough support, or potentially enough support, for the bipartisan infrastructure package to pass, which means it could happen as soon as possible, hopefully, if there's enough votes. And then once that happens, you can't have a Part 1 without a Part 2, according to the Democrats. And the Part 2 infrastructure package is going to have the human infrastructure, care infrastructure, human capital, stimulus programs, reconciliation bill, so many different names going on. But the reason why Part 2 is going to be a lot more beneficial is because the Democrats have control of the House, the Senate, and President, which means that they could pass any law that they want, and through the reconciliation process, they don't need any support from Republicans. So that means that whatever the Democrats want to put in the bill, they can. And especially with one person, Joe Manchin, being one of the Democrats who was not who was not for a reconciliation bill, Joe Manchin now signals support for human infrastructure measure, nudging up corporate and capital gains tax. So basically, with Joe Manchin on board with the reconciliation bill, as long as it was a bipartisan solution, that means that Democrats could just add whatever they want to it, and it looks like it'll have enough support to go through. So I'm going to play you a couple of different clips from both a Democrat and Republican. First up, here's the Democrat talking about what's going on with infrastructure.
In terms of your question about infrastructure, I am very hopeful that we'll have an opportunity, certainly, to pass the bipartisan infrastructure package. I'm a member of the Problem Solvers Caucus in the House, and we were helpful and instrumental in negotiating that and making that a reality. But I'm also equally hopeful about a second package that will address all of these issues that we're talking about, which is the other part of infrastructure. If you have a road or a bus and you have work, you still need a babysitter. You still need somebody who's going to be helpful in order to take care of your aging parents. And those kinds of things are also infrastructure.
So it's basically the same story. Democrats want more, Republicans want less, but the White House has been reaching out to Republicans to try to gain more support. So this week, White House holding informal discussions with Republicans on second infrastructure package, also known as the reconciliation bill, which is going to have a lot of stimulus programs in it. There's so many different names for things, so sorry if it's confusing. So Gene Sperling and Neera Tanden, which are the senior advisors to the president and other economic aides, are conducting the talks. Individuals involved, they're basically having conversations, virtual meetings with individuals who are part of the Republican Party to try to garner support for the reconciliation bill, which it doesn't need any Republican support, but they're trying to get Republicans on board anyway. This way it could be not completely party line vote where it's just Democrats voting for it, but there could be some Republicans on board, which I think is likely. So this is it's good that the White House is actually putting in effort to reach out to Republicans, although I think it is a futile effort. Because Republicans aren't really for a lot of the spending that Democrats want to do. Speaking of Republicans, here is a Republican representative's view on what's going on and happening with infrastructure moving forward.
Let's turn to the latest here in Washington on infrastructure negotiations. A group of bipartisan senators and President Biden agreed to a $1.2 trillion deal, no tax increases. The American Society of Civil Engineers says almost 1 in 3 roads in your state, in Arkansas, is in poor condition. So would you like to see more Republicans in Congress support this compromise?
Well, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is something that I support because it's limited to the traditional infrastructure of roads and bridges, which has such a great need. It also includes some broadband, some water projects. But the best news is it's paid for. And I like that bipartisan approach. So I hope that that does pass. It's an amount that we can afford. I don't want that tied to passing the second level of human infrastructure because states like Arkansas, other states, we have more money than we could spend right now in terms of some of the federal money that's flowed our direction. So this bipartisan hardcore infrastructure bill is important for our country. I do hope that it can pass, but I hope the other one can be defeated as well because that costs us too much. It's too great a burden for the next generation.
Although we're hearing that there's more and more support coming from Democrats and Republicans regarding both infrastructure packages, we still don't know exactly what is in it. So we keep hearing that a deal has been made, things are moving forward, it's gaining more support, but we still don't know what is in the Part 1 and the Part 2. And especially, how is the Part 1 going to be paid for? Those are really big details. So potentially this whole thing could fall apart regardless of all the support it's gaining. I feel like there's some magic going on here. There's some illusions up front saying, yes, all the support is happening. They've been behind the scenes. They have no idea what they're doing. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree. Just talking about Congress in general, they've been pretty incompetent over the past year in terms of getting things done, but maybe I could be wrong. So as I mentioned before, Joe Manchin signals support for human infrastructure, which means that it could lead the way for things passing a lot sooner. Next, let's talk about the 4th stimulus check, what's going on with that. So world leaders back Biden G7 call for more economic stimulus. So when President Biden met with G7, he said, we need more stimulus worldwide. After that meeting, Japan passed more stimulus, Italy passed more stimulus, Europe in general had more stimulus. Canada, another country part of the G7, they've been known for their $2,000 per month stimulus checks, 2,000 Canadian dollars, which equals around 1,400 US dollars. Still, a lot of monthly stimulus checks going on in Canada. What's going on with the US? It's still been a little slow, even though there have been some big packages. They're kind of moving forward, not really the same pace as other places maybe. So with the 4th stimulus check, Biden is happy to hear a range of ideas on economy, including more checks. And one of the only stimulus programs that is in Congress right now is the $2,000 per month until the pandemic is over, and then $1,000 per month an entire year after the pandemic is over. This is definitely a crowd favorite. I think everyone loves this plan the most because it's the most money after the pandemic is officially over. And as I mentioned earlier on with the Delta variant, we still don't know what's going to happen with that, if things are going to close up again, especially if they're saying that vaccinated people need to wear masks again, or vaccinated people are not completely protected from the Delta variant. I don't know if we're going to have a relapse or not, and if things could change in terms of stimulus programs. Another stimulus program just came out, so stimulus check update. New relief payment plan will issue 2 $1,000 checks over the next 2 years for these Americans. So this is for the 2nd largest Native American tribe, and they approved a special stimulus program for its citizens as lawmakers debate the likelihood of a 4th stimulus check. So still waiting on the full details of a 4th stimulus check, if there is is a fourth stimulus check, but for the Cherokee Nation, they're going to receive two $1,000 stimulus checks over a 2-year period. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think about the Cherokee Nation getting these two $1,000 stimulus checks? Good, bad? Should other Native American tribes get it too, especially if this is the second largest, should the first largest? I don't even know what the first largest American tribe is, Native American tribe is. Anyways, a lot of people are wondering, how are these things going to be paid for? Well, Bernie Sanders has an idea here. He tweeted this yesterday. He said, Jeff Bezos makes some $2,537 every second of the day. Got that? That means Jeff Bezos, the richest guy on the face of the planet, makes nearly 3 times more in 1 second than the median worker in this country makes an entire week. That is morally obscene. Tax the billionaires. So looks like Jeff Bezos alone could give everybody recurring monthly stimulus checks. Do you think the billionaires should be taxed? Or do they work really hard for the money? They get to keep their money. Should they tax their income, tax their wealth? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. Some are saying that they should pay their fair share. Others who are being paid off by billionaires are saying leave the billionaires alone. But let me know your thoughts on that. Next, let's talk about the eviction crisis going on. So the eviction moratorium is set to expire at the end of July. Some states are extending it. Washington State is extending it. California has extended it to the end of September. But the housing crisis, I feel like that's still a band-aid for this housing eviction crisis. By extending it, it's not really helping people, cover their rent. Rental assistance is going out, but it's been really slow. There still are rental assistance programs out there up to $45 billion, but those $45 billion aren't making it to the renters and landlords fast enough before the July 31st deadline. Next, let's talk about progressive ramp up Medicare expansion push in Congress. So Medicare expansion is going to include dental, vision, and hearing, as well as lower prescription drug prices and potentially lower the age eligibility down to age 60 from 65. So Bernie Sanders is one of the progressives who's on board with that, but also Representative Pramila Jayapal, the chairwoman of Congressional Progressive Caucus, said that the White House is not opposed to adding Medicare provisions and is supportive provided the votes are there in both chambers, meaning that if there's enough votes in Congress, Medicare expansion could pass in that reconciliation bill, the Part 2 infrastructure plan. And she said as long as we could get to 218 votes and 50 votes in the Senate, they're excited about it. So it looks like Medicare expansion may be a potential. It's gaining a lot of support, especially among Democrats. Haven't really heard Republicans talk much about it. Next, let's talk about how Biden campaigned on canceling and reforming student debt. Here's where those promises stand. So as mentioned many times in this channel, President Biden here said he wants to forgive a minimum of $10,000 per person of federal student loans. And also, there are many senators, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, are pushing for $50,000 in student loan forgiveness. So far, the promise and the calls for more forgiveness has not gone anywhere. President Biden is not, at least as of now, going to include that in the reconciliation bill. At least as of now, we don't know what's in the reconciliation bill. It's just a big mystery of a potential $6 trillion or $4 trillion, $2 trillion. We don't even know the number of how much money it's going to cost for the reconciliation bill, which is the second human infrastructure package. Also, as you can see here, President Biden also promised monthly Social Security checks to increase by $200 a month for all Social Security recipients. That is another empty promise that he campaigned on, if you think about it, over a year ago. He's been in office and still no talk or no mention, still no mention of that and if it's going to be in the reconciliation bill, but I'll keep you updated. And that is all the stimulus news I have for you today. To hopefully brighten your day a bit, here is my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I tell you the one thing that you should do. When you feel something and you don't really feel good, then be grateful what you have. Be thankful. Because the next day I might not be there. So, that's what I wanted to say. True or false? Bye.
Thank you so much for watching up until this point. I hope you have a great day. If you want to check out any of my other videos, you could click this link up here for my other 2 channels. I have a Wise Vibes channel, which is about motivation, and I have a Wise Sense channel, which is about how to make money and invest money. Or you could click this link down over here, which is some other stimulus updates. So click either one of those, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.